Hi, and welcome back to U.S. History with Mr. Snyder. And today, women. I've told you you get a couple days in U.S. history all to yourself, and this is one of them, talking about the progressive women. Let's take a look at our learning targets today. We'll analyze the impact of changes in women's education on women's roles in society. We'll explain what women did to win workers' rights and improve family life, and we'll evaluate the tactics that women used to win passage of the 19th Amendment. Fancy. Education is the number one reason women can achieve their goals. And a lot of women, again, numbers in college skyrocket, so a lot of women are going back to earn their degrees at universities. Because if they're not educated, they probably will have to work a dangerous job with long hours, either in a sweatshop or some sort of large machinery in a factory, but they're not gonna have as good of a life if they aren't university educated. The Supreme Court case of Mueller versus Oregon argues that women who work long hours would hurt family life, and the Supreme Court agrees. They uphold that. So hours cannot be limited for men. If you want to work 15 hours a day, that's your God-given right as an American. But they can for women. So we've got a long way to go before women equality here. And this ruling is later justified to used to justify not paying women as much as paying men, and that still continues to this day. That women do not make the same money for the same job as men. So Florence Kelley is one of the people who helps protect consumers, and she helps found the National Consumers League, or the NCL. And what they do is they give labels to goods that were produced under good working conditions, and people buy those goods. So you see this tactic used today, like on tuna cans, it says dolphin safe. This tuna was created without hurting any dolphins or dolphins getting caught in fishing nets and dying. So more people are likely to buy that tuna. Or you see fair trade. Fair trade stuff, if it was produced under good working conditions and not slave labor, more people are likely to buy that. So this is kind of like that, or sometimes the Good Housekeeping logo, the magazine, they endorse stuff, and housewives flock to buy that because it's got the Good Housekeeping seal of approval on it. People are asked to buy those goods. And they also push for other labor reforms in having people work like an 8-hour workday, stuff like that. But National Consumers League is helping to protect consumers and kind of taking a back alley way to actually protect them and help them. How did women affect the temperance movement? Well, again, just like in the 1800s, women want to ban alcohol so that men don't waste their money on it, and it doesn't make them violent because they're usually the victims of the aftermath of that. And this is really a reform aimed at improving the family life. And you can see here by these lovely ladies, lips that touch liquor shall not touch ours. I remember that from my time in high school, and I thought I'd show it to you. So, progressive women, how did we improve family life? Well, Margaret Sanger thought that women's lives would improve if they didn't have so many darn kids running around. If a woman didn't have 7 kids, maybe she could focus more on herself. So she is responsible for opening the country's first birth control clinic. And this isn't really like anything that, complicated. It's a very simple contraception, but women a lot of times didn't know what it was about. And so she is in charge and opens the country's first birth control clinic. Ida B. Wells, who we've talked about before, she helps form the National Association of Colored Women, and she sets up daycares to educate and protect black children from a life on the streets. So a lot of times they did have programs like that for whites, like in the settlement houses, but a lot of times they did not take in minorities. So Ida B. Wells is in charge of that for blacks, and she did a lot to help improve black family situations. Voting, or the right to vote, is known as suffrage. And why do women need the right to vote? It's not even just an equality thing. It is because political issues that are voted on reach inside the home and affect them and their family. Carrie Chapman Catt, or CCC, she is the president of the National American Woman Suffrage Movement. And they basically have two strategies here. One group is going to talk to Congress on a national level for a constitutional amendment that would guarantee all American women the right to vote. And one group would then pressure individual states to pass suffrage laws. And they were successful on the second strategy there, and eventually they are also successful on the first strategy, but not before World War I breaks out. Alice Paul is another voting rights advocate, women's suffragist, and she begins the National Woman's Party. And she is a little more in your face and militant about this. She marches with picket signs outside the White House with her party, and she goes on hunger strikes until they could vote. And then finally, in the middle of this, in 1914, World War I breaks out. The U.S. joins soon after in about 1917. And women move to support the war effort and win praise for doing so. And so in August 1920, they're kind of, I don't know, rewarded for this. And the 19th Amendment is ratified finally by three-fourths of the states. And it states that the right to vote shall not be denied or abridged on account of sex. So now finally, everybody in the country can vote. And women do cast their vote. And that's the way it was. So that's all I have for you today. Go ahead and fill out those learning targets, and I'll see you later for Section 3, which is African Americans and minorities during the progressive movement. Good night.